Imagine a perfectly utopian world. Just like picture a society where doors are never locked because the whole concept of theft it simply does not exist.
Right, like it's not even a thought.
Exactly. And the weather outside is perfectly attuned to the harvest, so there's, never a famine or a shortage of food or anything.
That's pretty ideal.
It really does. There's absolutely no stress, no interpersonal conflict, and everyone around you is just living in this perpetual state of total joy, freedom, and blessing.
I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Right. It sounds like the absolute pinnacle of human existence. But as we know, paradise always comes with an admission price. And sometimes that price is literally everything you are.
Yeah, the cost can be incredibly steep.
So true. Today, we are diving into a truly fascinating document that serves as our source material for this deep dive. It's titled 28 Activities That Are Not Allowed in Lifechanyuan, and it was written by a figure named Shufeng back in April 2020.
That's quite the list.
Oh, it really is. And our mission today is to explore this proposed model for humankind's future, which the text calls the new oasis for life. We want to deeply examine the extreme psychological and social trade-offs that are required to actually live in a perfect society.
And, to really grasp the weight of these 28 rules, you first have to understand the ultimate goal the author is proposing here.
Right, because it's not just a standard commune.
Exactly. Most utopian blueprints we see in history, they focus on the architecture of cities or maybe how to redistribute wealth in a new economic system. But this document, it focuses almost entirely on the architecture of human behavior.
Like reprogramming the soul itself.
Yeah, precisely. According to the text, the individuals who follow this program, they're known as Chanyuan Celestials. And they aren't just trying to build a pleasant little camp in the woods.
No, they have much bigger plans.
They really do. They are actively attempting to repay accumulated debts from their past lives. They want to build up what the text calls life wealth and eventually sublimate from mortal beings into actual immortals.
Wait, literal immortals?
Literally. The end goal is to leave the ordinary human condition behind entirely and reach these mystical-sounding realms mentioned in the text, like the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or the Elysium Celestial Islands continent.
So we're talking about a very literal, step-by-step instruction manual to secure a ticket to an immortal paradise.
That's exactly what it is.
But the text explicitly states that you cannot get to that higher plane using traditional thinking or traditional values or, traditional ways of living. Which leads us to the big question. What exactly do you have to give up to get your ticket to Elysium?
The short answer is basically everything.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think of this document not just as a set of communal rules, but more like a rigid user agreement, like the terms of service for a complete spiritual factory reset.
Oh, the concept of a factory reset captures the core philosophy of this text perfectly.
It really feels like that.
Because the very first requirement to join this new oasis for life is a complete erasure of your previous identity. I mean, the text explicitly states that newcomers must format their own history and completely abandon yourself to become selfless.
Which is such a wild demand.
It is. The author isn't asking for a simple attitude adjustment here. It's a demand for psychological obliteration.
I really want to push back on that idea for a second because that phrase, format their own history, it is so striking and frankly a little terrifying.
It definitely has a dark undertone.
Right. If you think about formatting a hard drive on your computer, you aren't just putting a few bad files in the trash bin. You are wiping the drive completely clean.
We're deleting the operating system itself.
Exactly. So is it even possible for a human being to consciously discard every single understanding, every cultural nuance, and every concept they previously held to be right?
It's highly debatable.
I mean, we are quite literally built on our memories and our past experiences. If you format that history, what is actually left to experience the utopia?
Well, what's fascinating here is how the text directly addresses that exact friction between human nature and these utopian ideals.
Oh, how so?
It essentially argues that human intellect, like our deep reliance on our own accumulated experiences and rationalizations, that is the very thing keeping us from this higher state of being.
So our brains are the problem.
According to this, yes. The document states point blank that the combined wisdom of thousands of mortals is not as great as the vision of a single saint.
Wow.
Yeah, it sets up this deliberate, mandatory intellectual surrender.
Right, because it actually warns you against trying to be too analytical about the rules. It says that if you try to figure everything out before acting on it, you'll simply run out of time and die before you understand it all.
Which is quite the threat, honestly.
Seriously. It's framing critical thinking as a literal waste of your mortal life. So the text demands that you just have to trust the guide's roadmap. You have to stop thinking and just start following.
It is a demand for absolute, unblinking trust. The underlying argument of the text is that your mortal logic is flawed by design.
Because it's mortal.
Exactly. Relying on it will only lead to endless ordeals and suffering, which is why, the world currently looks the way it does.
That's their justification for all the chaos in the world.
Yes, by formatting your history, you bypass the ego's biological need to understand, to categorize, and to control your environment. The text views that surrender of control as a totally non-negotiable prerequisite for entering this higher state of existence.
Okay, so if the mind has to be wiped completely clean, then the external world you attach that mind to, well, that has to be completely stripped away as well.
You can't have a blank slate mind in the complex world.
Right, you can't have this empty mind in a society cluttered with complex institutions. And that logic flows right into the first major set of the 28 forbidden activities, which is basically the total erasure of earthly ideologies.
The bans are incredibly sweeping.
Oh, they cover everything. The text forbids any religious activities and rituals. It forbids any political activities and organizational forms. You cannot insult the head of any government anywhere in the world, and you cannot disparage any country or nationality.
On the surface, banning politics, nationalism, and religious tribalism. It sounds like the classic recipe for world peace, doesn't it?
It sounds like John Lennon's Imagine.
Exactly. If people have no flags to wave and no dogmas to defend, they have no reason to go to war. But this document goes much further than just banning geopolitical conflict. It targets the very subtle ways human beings naturally create hierarchies.
And there is a massive paradox embedded in how they handle that hierarchy, specifically when it comes to the leadership of this very community.
Yes, the rules about the leader are very interesting.
It's so strange. Rule 3 forbids personal worship, but then it specifically says, especially the deification of Shufeng, who is the author of the text.
That specific carve-out is deeply revealing about the structure they were trying to build.
But it goes even further into the specifics. Rule 4 forbids hanging portraits of Jesus, Shakyamuni, Lao Tzu, Muhammad, and again explicitly includes Shufeng in that list.
He put himself right next to Jesus and Muhammad.
Right. But you can't even hang a picture of the guy writing the rules on your wall. I read that and immediately wondered, why go out of your way to ban your own glorification? Usually, utopian founders love a good portrait.
They usually do, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think most utopian blueprints and communes fail because power structures inevitably coalesce around a charismatic leader.
That makes sense.
When the leader becomes a deity, the community becomes a cult of personality. And that breeds jealousy, inner circles, and eventually corruption.
So it's a preventative measure.
Exactly. By explicitly banning the deification of the founder, the text attempts to remove the potential for internal factions or power struggles. It is about eliminating all rival allegiances. Your allegiance must be to the collective ideology, not to a single living figurehead.
That makes total sense. If people are worshiping a leader, they are creating a vertical hierarchy, and these rules are just utterly obsessed with flattening all hierarchy into a perfect horizontal line.
The ultimate flat society.
Yeah. Like, Rule 19 forbids praying loudly in public, and interestingly, it even cites the Christian Bible, Matthew 6.5, to back it up.
Which is fascinating, bringing in outside text to prove the point.
Right. The rule dictates that if you're going to pray, you have to do it silently, essentially hiding your piety.
Because public prayer is inherently performative.
Oh, absolutely.
It acts as a broadcast signal to the community saying, look how spiritual I am, look how closely I adhere to the ideals. That performative piety elevates the individual above the group, creating a spiritual hierarchy.
It makes them special.
Yes. And Rule 21 takes this flattening effect to its most extreme logical conclusion by banning anyone from teaching or guiding others.
See, that was the rule that stopped me in my tracks. No teaching or guiding others.
Not at all.
But how does a society even function if knowledge cannot be passed down from an expert to a novice?
In the context of the new oasis for life, allowing a teacher-student dynamic creates an immediate imbalance of power.
Because one person knows more.
Exactly. The moment someone claims the title of a spiritual guru or even just a life guide, you have a hierarchy. You have someone with authority and someone in submission.
Right, which breaks the equality rule.
Yes. By removing politics, religion, performative prayer, and even the role of a teacher, the document systematically bulldozes the social structure until it is perfectly flat. Everyone is theoretically equal because no one is allowed the platform to stand out, to claim superior knowledge, or to gather followers.
Erasing politics, organized religion, and social hierarchy, I mean, that's pretty standard for utopian models. We've seen that in literature and in real-world communal experiments for centuries.
Sure. It's a common theme.
But this source goes so much deeper than just public institutions. It breaks right into your house, into your personal life, and targets the very foundation of human connection. Here's where it gets really interesting. Let me share the rules that govern intimacy, because they would completely shock the average person.
They're definitely hard to swallow.
For real, the text bans all exclusive fixed relationships. Not just one-on-one relationships, but not one-to-many either. It completely abolishes marriage. It bans all family or kinship affection.
Which is huge.
It's massive. It bans celebrating birthdays. And Rule 28, no gift giving between each other.
It is a radical, almost clinical restructuring of human intimacy.
It's beyond radical. It's a complete dismantling of how we define love. Like, think about your own life for a second. Imagine never getting a birthday card because the day you were born isn't considered an event worth acknowledging.
Just another day.
Yeah. Imagine not being allowed to have a best friend. Imagine not being able to show special, elevated affection to your own spouse, or more jarringly, to your own child.
That's the hardest part for people to accept.
I have to push back on this framework. Doesn't stripping away personal affection make a community less human rather than more unified?
It certainly challenges our definition of humanity.
Right, because we define ourselves by the people we choose to love. If a baby cries and a mother cannot show it kinship affection, how does that child even develop a sense of safety?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of the document, we have to look closely at Rule 26, which outright bans the ownership of personal belongings.
Wait, how does property connect to loving your kid?
Because in the strict logic of the new oasis for life, private property isn't just about physical items like a car, a house, or a piece of jewelry. In this ideology, emotional exclusivity is treated as a form of selfish hoarding.
Emotional hoarding. I've never heard love described as an asset to be hoarded.
That is exactly how the text treats it. If you have a best friend or a spouse, you are directing a disproportionate amount of your love, your time, and your energy toward one specific person.
Okay.
And in this framework, that means you are actively withholding that love from the rest of the collective.
Oh, I see.
Your affection is viewed as a finite resource, much like food or water. If you favor one person, you are inherently excluding someone else, which breeds inequality and eventual conflict.
Oh, wow. I see the logic, even if it feels incredibly cold. Love becomes a literal zero-sum game in this utopia. If I give 10 units of love to my spouse, I have 10 fewer units to give to my neighbor.
Exactly the intended logic. The total dissolution of the nuclear family and the ban on fixed relationships ensures that the New Oasis Collective is your one and only family.
No outside allegiances allowed.
Right. You cannot have divided loyalties. A birthday celebrates the individual ego, elevating one person above the group for 24 hours.
And a gift.
A gift given privately between two people creates a secret bond and a transactional obligation that excludes the rest of the community.
That makes sense within their strict framework.
By eliminating these specific, targeted expressions of love, the text argues that everyone will be loved equally, precisely because no one is allowed to be loved exclusively.
It's an enforced universal baseline of affection. You aren't allowed to love anyone at a level 10 because every single person in the community must be loved at a level 5.
That's a great way to put it.
It's fascinating conceptually, but incredibly chilling when you try to apply it to the messy reality of human emotions.
It definitely ignores a lot of biological reality.
Absolutely. And this extreme ordinariness, this forced, flat equality, it extends beyond just relationships. It bleeds into a bizarrely specific set of rules governing everyday quirks and supernatural claims.
Yes, this is where the document shifts from sweeping philosophical mandates to highly specific, almost microscopic rules about maintaining daily social harmony.
Highly specific is an understatement. I actually love some of the strange caveats hidden in these rules.
They are pretty funny.
Right. For instance, Rule 7 strictly bans the practice of magic and magical arts. but it specifically makes an exception for party tricks.
Which is just such an amazing detail.
You cannot be a wizard channeling dark forces, but if you want to pull a coin out from behind someone's ear to make them smile, that is completely fine.
Party tricks are sanctioned.
Exactly. And Rule 24 bans wearing fancy or strange outfits except during party times.
Those caveats actually show a very pragmatic awareness of human nature, though.
You think so?
Yeah, the author understands that human beings still need a release valve. They still need entertainment, wonder, and celebration. A society of absolute rigid equality would just snap under its own tension.
That's a good point.
But that release has to be contained strictly within sanctioned parameters, like a designated party time, so it doesn't bleed into daily life and disrupt the baseline of equality.
Controlled fun, essentially.
Exactly.
And then there is the intense control over anything supernatural. Rule 22 bans introducing or disseminating weird people who disrupt society, and the text lists out these highly specific, grandiose titles that are banned.
The list is incredible.
It bans claiming to be the return of Jesus Christ, the new Maitreya Buddha, the Lagerströmia Saint, the Promise Mother, and Bayang Zenrin. You are absolutely not allowed to show up in this community claiming you are a reincarnated deity or a prophet.
The irony embedded in these supernatural bans is profound.
Right, because the entire point of this community, as stated at the beginning of the document, is for the Chanyuan Celestials to eventually become immortal and ascend to the Elysium Celestial Islands continent.
They are literally dedicating their lives to becoming celestial beings.
Yes, but at the same time, Rule 6 bans channeling spirits, and Rule 23 strictly bans talking about ghosts.
The irony is strong, but it actually makes perfect sense within their internal logic. Well, the text promises a literal immortal existence in these higher mystical worlds, yet it aggressively bans supernatural behavior while you are on Earth. This is entirely about maintaining absolute earthly grounding and social harmony.
So no distractions.
Right. If people are running around the commune claiming to be the Promised Mother or claiming they can talk to ghosts, they are causing chaos. They are drawing attention to themselves and away from the collective.
They're making themselves special again. They're trying to bypass the rules to gain authority, which breaks the equality mandate.
Exactly. This raises an important question about how utopias protect themselves from internal schisms. By banning these specific titles, many of which have historical roots in various religious movements that splintered and caused societal unrest, the text is guarding against the very real threat of rogue prophets stealing the flock.
That makes a lot of sense. Keep everyone grounded.
The path to the celestial realm, according to this text, requires being remarkably ordinary, quiet, and grounded in the present moment. This is why these supernatural bans sit right alongside very strict, practical environmental rules.
Oh yeah, like Rule 17 forbidding polluting water.
Yes, and Rules 15 and 16 forbid eating or harming wild animals. The utopia must be physically clean, quiet, and harmonious without any supernatural static muddying the waters.
And that earthly egalitarianism is brutally enforced when it comes to daily living standards. Rule 25 is incredibly clear and leaves no room for interpretation. No adult gets special enjoyment in food, clothing, housing, or transportation.
Not at all.
It doesn't matter how much credit you have in the community or how hard you worked that day. And it explicitly says, once again, Zufeng is no exception. The guy who wrote the rules eats the exact same bowl of rice as the person who arrived yesterday.
The only permitted exceptions in the entire document regarding living standards are for the sick, the elderly, and young children.
Which is just basic compassion.
Right. But everyone else, regardless of their status, their tenure in the community, or their perceived spiritual advancement, gets the exact same standard of living.
It's a complete, unyielding leveling of the playing field. You cannot buy your way to a better dinner, you cannot charm your way into a bigger house, and you cannot claim some divine right to a nicer outfit.
Unless, of course, it's sanctioned party time.
Naturally. So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at this entire document, this total factory reset of the human experience, think about your own life, your own desires. We all crave what the new Oasis for Life promises.
We really do.
We all want a world without theft, without the crushing stress of modern life, without constant geopolitical conflict. We all want that perfect, bountiful harvest.
It speaks to a very deep, almost genetic human longing for peace. We are exhausted by the friction of modern existence.
But this text argues that the only way to permanently achieve that peace is to completely eradicate the individual ego. It demands that you give up private love, your personal history, your treasured belongings, and any claim to being special or unique.
It's a massive sacrifice.
It is. It asks a profound question. Are the heavy burdens of modern life, the heartbreak, the inequality, the societal conflict, are they worth the freedom to have your own unique identity? Are the highs of exclusive love worth the lows of loss and jealousy?
This document operates as a fascinating mirror for our current society. It claims to belong not to any nation or religion or political party, but to the greatest creator in all of humanity.
A universal message.
Yes, and what it reflects back to us is the uncomfortable idea that creating heaven on earth requires abandoning the very things that tether us to the human experience.
Like our attachments.
Precisely. Our passions, our strong preferences, our exclusive loves. These are the very things that cause friction between us. The text suggests that to permanently remove the friction, you have no choice but to remove the uniqueness of the individual. You have to sand down all the rough edges until everyone fits perfectly together.
It really leaves you with something heavy to mull over, especially when you think about the very first step of this entire process, formatting your history and completely abandoning your sense of self.
That's the scariest part.
It really is. If you have to erase your ego, your memories, and your specific attachments just to enter this utopia, is the you that experiences that paradise actually you? Or is a true utopia only possible if we are willing to erase ourselves entirely, essentially building a perfect conflict-free world for a stranger who just happens to be wearing your face?